Throughout the year, the base has had its fair share of exercises, inspections, and deployments. For the next 3 stories, Staff Sergeant Bucky Rudolph helps relive the green flag deployment. Senior Airman Chris Galanek recalls a historic send-off of the 13th Fighter Squadron, and Specialist Darlene Montgomery catches their happy return home.
B1, west of Paiute.
Let's say B1 west of Paiute. Disregarded. East of Paiute, B1.
Green Flag 96 is the free world's largest electronic warfare exercise. Fighter jets from around the world travel to the deserts of Nevada with their ground crews to engage in combat situations over the 3.1 million acre Nellis Range. Jets from England, Germany, and Japan join their counterparts and a couple B-1 bombers from the U.S. in helping to defend a fictitious country recently invaded. F-15s from Eglin, Florida acted as the aggressors with support from the ground in the form of surface-to-air missiles. At times, as many as 60 jets combined forces to bring the hostile forces under control. They were greeted with MiG fighters, surface-to-air missiles, and other assorted anti-aircraft weapons.
We went up, we provided the suppression of enemy air defense for today's mission. We escorted 3 strike packages in, and our job was to take out the surface-to-air threats that were up against the strike package.
Were you able to do that?
We did a fairly good job today. I think we took out some SA-2s, some SA-3s, and some SA-6s.
The enemy's command center is located in a building called Range Control.
Eagle, Texas Lake.
Eagles, Texas Lake.
They track the good guys, designated by blue symbols, and inform enemy aircraft in the red on evasive maneuvers. The screen may look like a big mess, but these folks have it down to a science. It clearly shows the enemy is outnumbered, but certain MiGs are able to regenerate if shot down. The lopsidedness is arranged purposely because part of the exercise objective is the ability of many different fighters to work together. Needless to say, everyone involved in Green Flag is on the same side, but don't let anyone tell you the people located in ground control intercept aren't enjoying their job.
And when I get him on the video and I see I'm locked on and I get to tell him, okay, ready to shoot, free to fire, that's when it's exciting.
The aircraft involved in Green Flag generate sorties twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. They all take off within 30 minutes of each other to begin working the sky. Each package, as it's called, only takes about an hour, but what's learned in 60 minutes can bring with it experience needed to save 60 pilots.
As light rain fell early Monday morning on Misawa's flight line, members of the 13th Fighter Squadron fired up their Fighting Falcons and prepared to make history. As the squadron heads off for a 90-day stint in Southwest Asia, they bring another first to PACAF. The Panthers are the first F-16 squadron in the Pacific to fly in support of Operation Southern Watch, patrolling the skies over southern Iraq. The deployment process started in earnest Sunday when members converged on Hangar 909 for pre-deployment briefings. The men and women of the 13th had the chance to make sure all of their paperwork was in line, their finances taken care of, and worst of all for some, to make sure they had all their shots. With the recent terrorist bombings, as well as incidents with Iraq over the past few years, some folks would be pretty nervous about a deployment to that part of the world. But as the 13th Fighter Squadron commander told us, the Panthers look at this trip in a different light.
It's, again, one of the things that we're faced with as military men and women in today's Air Force. I don't think it's anything that's got anyone really spun up or too nervous. We're out there to do a job. We know what our job is. We're very prepared and very trained to do our job.
And it would seem that's pretty much the sentiment of all deploying members.
More or less, we're over there to do our job, and that's what we're end up going to do.
As the squadron departs, one thought was pretty common among all the folks we spoke to.
Don't worry about us. We're going to be over there doing our job, and we miss you, and support us. And give us a hard time if we don't send you letters, because we should be, and you go ahead and reciprocate. Hope to see you soon.
The 13th Fighter Squadron went to Southwest Asia to support Operation Desert Watch. From Misawa Air Base, the deployment made history.
You know, we were the first unit from PACAF ever deployed to Southwest Asia, and so there was just so many historical things with this entire deployment. The length of stay, the shooting of the harms. I believe it was the first time a PACAF unit had actually engaged in active combat since the end of Vietnam.
The squadron split up during the stay in the desert. For security reasons, some of the 13th moved to Bahrain. All in all, the mission gave the people in the squadron a greater appreciation for their jobs.
You know, you train all the time to do this, and you go out there and the aircraft come back and the missile is expended, and it makes you so proud of everything that you've done your whole Air Force career to do the training and everything else, but yet there was still a side to you that was a little bit panicky and made you afraid a little bit.
Now that they're home, the pilots and weapons loaders have stories to tell about their recent completed mission. But perhaps the most important stories are heard when listening to the words of a small child.
I love her and I miss her. I'm glad she's back home and I love her and I was thinking of her the whole time.
The squadron came home in 3 parts. The pilots and their jets returned first to a warm welcome and happy families. Support elements arrived later to a similar warm welcome.
Stay with us. When we return, we'll take a look at some special people who dropped in during 1996, along with how Misawa helped improve Japanese-American relations. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Improving Japanese-American relations is something that isn't taken lightly at Misawa. Because of efforts to continually strengthen relations with our host, we enjoy a standard that's respected worldwide. The next 3 stories show this very commitment, as Staff Sergeants Bucky Rudolph and Kevin Olson and Navy journalist Eric Allen explain.
Friday night, officers, officials, and guests all dressed to kill. For a ceremony, right? Well, not exactly. This gathering in Misawa City of all services recognized the new year. The party was intended to help foster the Japanese-American relationship and just to unwind. The tradition of breaking the sake bowl was one of many eye-catching events throughout the evening. Another was this poem written in kanji dedicated to the new year. The artist was accompanied vocally as well as acoustically by a bamboo flute player. Early in the evening, several short speeches were delivered by officials. Here's our own base commander, Brigadier General Paul Hester.
Over the next year, we will have plenty of opportunities to sharpen our professional skills. Tonight is a night to dedicate to sharpen and deepen our personal relationships between our American and our JASDAF brothers.
The mayor of Misawa City, Mr. Shigeyoshi Suzuki, also delivered a message. He wished good luck between communications of American and Japanese forces with the new year. He also said that the mission of coexistence and co-prosperity should not only exist with the community, but between the 2 services as well. After the speeches were delivered, the guests began to stack their plates with an impressive array of foods. Meanwhile, the Northern Air Defense Band provided some relaxing dinner music. It's gatherings like this that help friendships and bonds develop and prosper between the U.S. and Japan. So whether New Year's is enjoyed only one night or every night of the month, at least it was enjoyed by everyone.
They've gathered some 7 times to test a bit of their athletic abilities as well as enjoy each other's culture. This time, leaders from both the U.S., Japan Self-Defense Force, and Misawa City Hall gathered for a friendly game of softball, followed by an American-style barbecue, all hosted by the Misawa City Mayor. In past years, it's been the U.S.-based leaders versus City Hall. But this year, JASDAF members also got involved. It's a special relationship Misawa Air Base has with the local Japanese host, and it's gatherings like this that help strengthen those ties.
Well, clearly, as the more opportunities we get to spend face-to-face time,
being in a social setting, in this case a setting where we play softball, you get to know each other better, and you have the ability to work through problems that may arise when you know people better. It also gets us closer to them culturally and them to us culturally. I mean, we're principally playing an American softball style game hosted by our Japanese host.
According to the city mayor, Shigeyoshi Suzuki, a special relationship develops out of gatherings just like this, and it's something he feels is very important.
米軍の方々と仲良くしていこうというような目的でこれを行っているわけです。
The purpose of this gathering is to make a good friendship between the Japanese and Americans. Also, once again, it's a good opportunity to make towards a better Japan and American relationship. In the end, White Team won by 13-12, but there was a twist. Somehow, during the final minutes of the bottom of the 7th inning, a seemingly devastated Red Team made a mysterious comeback, but fell short by 1 run. At least everyone walked away with their dignity intact, and a first-time win for the White Team.
They begin with some we share, you share discussions about their P3s in the base theater. They discussed everything from maintenance to actions in an emergency. From there, the Japanese Navy folks took a stroll to VP-47's hangar for the up-close tour. Of course, some were more interested in camera time.
3, 2, 1, go.
At any rate, the day was just beginning. Despite some nasty weather, the two squadrons enjoyed themselves at Leftwich Park.
Well, I was very surprised that we would get along this good. Having a good time.
一緒に仕事することがどう思うか? It is good to work together now and in the future. It's also great to socialize and interact. It's really not that hard to communicate.
When we first got here, they invited us to their squadron for a party similar to this. So I think this is a reciprocation, and it allows us to get to know each other on a more personal basis rather than strictly professional.
Lending a helping hand goes a long way towards improving our host relations. Through programs like Red Feather and Operation Eyesight, units benefit those who may be less fortunate in the Japanese community. Senior Airman Chris Galanek and Staff Sergeant Kevin Olson filed these next reports.
Airmen have more in common with Red Feather than you might think. The annual campaign started 50 years ago, just about the same time as the formation of the United States Air Force. Misawa Air Base has participated in Red Feather for nearly 40 years, and over the years, the installation has contributed thousands of dollars.
In the past couple years, last year they raised just over $20,000, and the year before was $34,000. And each year the Japanese are really impressed with the amount of money that the Misawa Air Base raises and then donates to the campaign.
During the roundup, base units and private organizations present checks. Volunteers also collect donations over the phone. As Lieutenant Blitz said, Misawa has collected thousands of dollars from base residents, but where does all that money go?
It all stays in the local Misawa area. All the money goes to the Japanese children and welfare agencies within the Imori Prefecture. And it's a Japanese fundraiser similar to our CFC campaign, where it benefits welfare agencies, nurseries, physically and mentally handicapped. It all goes to help the Japanese.
The event takes hundreds of hours to organize and dozens of volunteers to make it a success. But it's all for a good cause.
Operation Eyesight is headed up by the 301st Military Intelligence Squadron at Misawa Air Base. Its mission is to benefit a local Japanese school for the blind and deaf. One of the ways of helping out includes regular visits to the school throughout the year, including visits during the holiday season.
This is the annual Operation Eyesight Christmas Party. It's one time a year we get together with the children here at the school and their families to celebrate the Christmas holidays and the New Year's holidays together. The people from Operation Eyesight and the people from the Hachinohe School. It's just a celebration, get together, have fun, kind of close out the year.
Since 1961, Operation Eyesight has helped pay for eyeglasses, hearing aids, and medical operations for less fortunate Japanese children.
They helped our students very much. So we Japanese are always thankful for their kindness. We will never forget their kindness.
Spreading goodwill and being good ambassadors to Japan is one example of how Air Force members at Misawa Air Base are helping further Japanese-American relations.